Hey guys, welcome back to the Diet Doc Life Mastery Podcast. I'm Joe Klomzeski here with our special guest, Adam Martin. And we're going to continue on in our series, which is kind of a highlight reel of the Diet Doc annual conference just recently. We did something a little bit different this year in that we've always held panels, which I think is great because a lot of the program owners in our company have an incredible amount to share. We want to hear from everybody. But this year we picked some of our program owners to lead these. So they got to be with their peers, drawing out some information. And Dr. Adam Martin, a pharmacist and CEO of the PHARMACIST brand, did a special presentation about social media. And there's a reason for that, because he's quite good at it. So Adam, before I just muddle too much into the weeds here, tell us exactly why and maybe when in your trajectory as an entrepreneur, you decided I must master social media. There's something here that's vital to a business and I need to learn it. Tell me about that whole transition.
Absolutely, Joe. So first and foremost, thanks for having me on. Love the podcast. Love the Diet Doc. Been a part of it since 2013. And I always just seem to grow and learn so much from you and Corey and everyone else of the team. So thank you so much for all that you do. To answer your question, I think I did it opposite of what most people do. And what I mean by that is I approach social media as a community platform instead of how can I make money from this. I approached it more of how can I connect with people and really deliver value and help them. That's literally how I went into it for such a long time that even you said dude, you got to start making money off of this. So it was to that effect that was actually a detriment to business because I literally just started giving value instead of trying to monetize. So I did that for such a long time. I think that is part of what made it so attractive is I wasn't pitching things and saying buy. It was just give. So
tell me what that value is. When you say you give value, that's kind of a codified word that a lot of people might not understand. So in social media terms, and you as a professional who also owns a brand, when you're giving value, what does that look like?
Absolutely. So I think that's niche specific, which is something that you taught me years ago. And my business, my social media, if you would check me out on Instagram, is @thefitpharmacist. And literally that's my niche, fitness and pharmacy. That's it. So when it comes down to answering your question of what value is that, it's fitness or pharmacy. So with pharmacy, that's things that will help pharmacists or pharmacy students. I made an ebook, 13 Errors to Avoid as a New Pharmacist. I'm a preceptor of students teaching new grads how to, be a good pharmacist. And I noticed through the years mistakes that kept happening time and time again. So helping identify those and lead them through. So there's an example is something specific to pharmacy to help them through that. Humor. There's so much stress with what we do as pharmacy. Comedic relief is huge. So I make a bunch of memes kind of poking fun at the stress that we go through. And then with fitness, that's where the Diet Doc comes in with providing quality content such as memes for how to eat on the go, nutrition tips, things like that. So that's what I mean by value is something that is helpful, whether that makes it simple or inspiring for my audience, which is people in pharmacy or healthcare looking to go towards pharmacy or into fitness more.
So you said two things there that are perfect in identifying exactly the problem that I'm trying to highlight, which is you use the word audience, and then you also use the word niche. And kind of combining those two things for the value precept. And I would say that as a writer, that is the first golden rule. That is the platform for all writing is know your audience. Yes. So a lot of people make the mistake of looking at social media from a business perspective of, I just have to cast this super wide net and try and make sure I encompass everything that I possibly can to draw the most people, instead of saying, okay, who do I connect with the most? And then I just have to make sure I'm thinking of that one avatar in mind, that one target demographic, because everybody else, they may or may not like that and they may stay, they may not. But for the audience that you really want to involve yourself in, you're basically curating that by the content you put out.
Exactly. And as a speaker, I'm an aspiring professional speaker. That's been the number one rule that I've heard from all of my mentors, know your audience. And the reason I say that, and I started to laugh, is I just got back from Thrive in Vegas this past weekend, Cole Hatter's event to Make Money Matter. With that, he had literally the best speakers in the world come, Andy Frisella, Ty Lopez, all those people. But all of them were great because they knew their audience. It's a room full of entrepreneurs looking to make money matter in a way to give back. However, there was one that really bombed. That person is Dave Asprey, or as fellow colleague Kevin Brunacini calls him, Dave Asprey of Bulletproof Coffee. So this is a shout out for Kevin. But the reason I say that is he completely did not know his audience. We didn't even know what he was talking about or who he was talking to. There was no point, there was no value. It was just spitting out his ego and talking about, I'm this, I've done that, with no value, no actionable steps to help us. So we were lost because we didn't know who he was talking to. We didn't know what we were supposed to be listening to. And there was just this flash of like arrogance. And I mean, he came out in Bono sunglasses, like it was ridiculous. So it was amazing someone of that influence just tanked that because they didn't know their audience. And I came into it indifferent, but now I have a very bad taste in my mouth with his brand simply because he didn't know his audience. But take that point and transition it to social media and writing and pretty much all aspects of business. You have to know who you're delivering to. So making value, we hear that so much that it's kind of cliche now. It's true, but you have to know what is the value and who is it for. So you got to identify who that's for. And I think that's a really key point that a lot of people miss.
So let me give you the opportunity to update a principle for me, because I know when social media started, and I think Facebook is close to 15 years old or something like that, you know, I went in there like everybody else for it to be what it was, social. So you get in there and you're talking to, you know, your grandma, whatever. And then all of a sudden, because that's where everybody's attention went, then it became a marketing platform. People who were early adopters of Facebook ads and really trolling for business, they got a foothold. Of course, then that went to other platforms like Instagram. But there is still this this difficulty for some people, and I'm gonna throw me in there, like, asking for a friend. As an introvert, somebody who doesn't want to look like I'm just whoring around to try and make money, because it's really not. I perceive social media as this place, kind of like a public square where everybody is. And if you're in that public square and you're just shouting as loud as you can, trying to sell, like, who wants to be that guy? But at the same time, there are people trying to build a business. And so, you know, along comes Gary Vaynerchuk with the jab, jab, jab hook and says, okay, you got to give. And then, you know, you kind of sneak in some kind of a little ad or promotion. And I'm still somewhere on that continuum trying to figure out what is socially acceptable. What do people really respond to so that they recognize that you are an authority, you're a professional, they actually want your business information, but yet you're not just that guy?
Exactly. Great question. Great point. And I think to simplify it as easy as possible, I would say it's consistent authenticity. And what I mean by that is, if you're doing all the things, like you're making a funny post, you're making a food post, you're talking about dogs, all this stuff, it comes back to what we said, know your audience and make sure you stay in your lane. So for me, that's fitness and pharmacy. I have a lot of other interests, but if I talked about all of them, people would get so lost they wouldn't know what I was talking about and look somewhere else. Because so many times people are confused or looking for answers. And if you're giving answers to all this stuff in different contexts, it's not going to help them. It's just going to lead to confusion. Complexity is the enemy of execution. So by doing that, it really confuses people. So that's the consistent part. But then it comes to authenticity. So if you're trying to be something you're not, people are going to pick up that that's really not who you are. And I know you say you're an introvert and you're naturally, you know, quiet. So maybe for you, writing is a better platform than, say, video. For me, I love to talk. I've got a loud mouth and I do it so much. I'm like, I should make a podcast and get some value out of this. So that's literally where that came from. But that's what I like. So podcasting and video is where I'm at. So trying to do things you're comfortable with, that people resonate with, those are key things to stay consistent in your lane with what people resonate with. But it really comes down, you got to ask yourself, is what I'm putting out there, is it about me or is it about helping other people? And when I say that, that might sound a little vague, but if you look through your feed or you've come across accounts that just struck you a wrong way, or you think this is arrogant or whatever, that's exactly what I'm talking about. The vibe that you get from that account, from that person, that's kind of their ego shouting versus I'm actually here to help someone. And I think you can agree with some accounts you've seen, or maybe some friends you have that kind of portray that, maybe not even realizing it. So that's the whole thing of, real life versus social media. It's not to replace it, but I look at social media as a stepping stone to kind of take away that blind date and create some sort of context with who you are, the value you want to give, what your mission is, so that when you do meet someone in person, there's some context there. There's some content to discuss or hinge off of from what you started with. And that's not always the same with some people. There's a lot of people that are one way in social media, but a totally different in real life. So if you can create consistency with that, that's another way you can stand out. And you preach this all the time with the Diet Doc. Get out in your community, get with people, be in front of people. So if they see in person you're similar to how you are on social, that is another way that you're building trust with your clients, with your friends, and with your business partners.
And I'm going to ask you a couple kind of lightning round questions just to get some answers for our listeners. What is the current vibe in terms of timing? It used to be make sure you're posting once a week or 3 times a week, and then it was daily, and now it's 3 times a day, and now some people are saying hourly. If you really want to, number one, get a message seen, but yet you don't want people to be just completely blocking you because you're just an ass. Yeah. So what's the current theme for you?
Excellent question. It depends on the platform. So if you post 20 times a day, that's okay, and it's really annoying depending on what platform. So if you're posting 20 times a day on Instagram, you're going to get unfollowed like crazy. But if you're posting 20 times a day on Twitter, that's normal. So it really depends on your platform and what the message is. So I'd say Twitter, you can post the most, followed by Facebook. Then it comes to LinkedIn and Instagram. Those are my main platforms with that. You can go deeper into video and Medium and things like that with like YouTube. But for all intents and purposes, Twitter, you can do frequent because it's just your thoughts, literally. Facebook, your page, you can do that, multiple times a day. Instagram, I wouldn't recommend posting than once a day, but you don't have to. The key is being consistent. So if with your business, if everything else, using myself as an example, I can realistically stick to 5 times a week. So that's my post schedule. It might vary time to time, but there's certain keys that I do. So I post a podcast on Monday. I post Fit Pharmacist Friday on Fridays. Everything else kind of dictated by my schedule and how things pan out because life happens. For other people, twice a week is what they can manage. So if you're going to be less frequent, you really want to make sure that when you do post, it's really good content. Have a really good photo or have a really good quality video. So the key isn't necessarily come to Instagram, the frequency, as long as you don't overdo it. And when you underdo it, make sure that you post when it counts.
Do you have a certain ratio of professional posts versus just kind of fun or the humorous things or personal things?
Yeah. So are you talking about in general or are you talking about Instagram specifically?
In general.
Okay. Well, I try to make a nice blend. Twitter, I don't use too much. My 2 main things are Facebook and Instagram. And I find with my niche that humor really resonates strongly. So I try to incorporate a rough mix on Facebook, half of about actual content. Like I just posted one earlier today about how a new study came out talking about how exercise can really help to elevate moods and help things, mental disorders, which is huge. I think it's University of Vermont came out with that. So that takes in under an hour, which for me is pretty big on Facebook. But if you post a humorous thing, that'll get shared 30 times, which for me, that's pretty big. Now, transition to Instagram, the ratio is a little different. My humor, I just make 1 post a week. Again, I'm posting 5 times a week. So that's roughly 20% of my content is humorous. And I do that on purpose midweek to get you like comedic relief to work on a day, just give you a little boost to get you through the week and you can kind of coast into the weekend. So it depends, I think, on your audience and what your lanes are with what you're trying to do. But for me, it's a nice balance. The ratio just varies depending on what platform I'm on.
Yeah, I agree. It's one of the things that I found as I kind of study my analytics, I can see even just the time of the week, as you mentioned, where people are just a little bit more prone to liking something that's funny or serious or work related. So I'm going to leave it there, Adam. I think that's great information. I think that gives everybody enough to digest. And of course, we'll have you back on in the future as one of our amazing Diet Doc program owners, but also the proprietor of your own brand, the Fit Pharmacist. So we'll put all that information in the show notes where people can follow your information, because it's not just pharmacy based. It's very much, health and allied health based, where I think you give it a lot of information everybody can benefit from.
And if you guys listening want to check out my page for an example, go to Instagram and it's at The Fit Pharmacist, all one word. Feel free to reach out, DM me. I always, help give you tips. I can be of any service to you guys.
All right. Thank you, Adam. And thank you guys for watching and listening. We will catch you next time.